Today's February 4th, 2023. Current Bitcoin price is $23,406.
Welcome to the BitBite podcast, your source for news and information about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only, and is not financial advice.
What's going on, Rick?
Oh, not much.
Another glorious day.
Another glorious day.
We've had all types of awesome, crazy stuff going on in the world, right? All the time. Got
Yep.
Chinese flying balloons over America. And they're like, no. You know what's funny about that? And I don't want to harp on it too much. I just want to bring it up real quick. You know what's funny about that is that we blatantly, we spy on them all the time. Usually with satellites, sometimes with planes, I'm sure. And so I'm sure they do the same back to us. But just to make it so apparent.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is more just a show. More than anything, I'm pretty sure they have more sophisticated ways than weather balloons.
Yeah.
What, is it 1950 still? I mean...
And the funny thing is, if you look at the thing, it straight up looks like a satellite attached to a balloon, according to the photos that I've seen. As to how accurate those are, I don't know. But
I don't know. They can deep fake all kinds of stuff now, so I don't know.
That is true, yeah. We right before we started recording, we were talking about a tweet that I saw yesterday of Michael Saylor talking about selling his Bitcoin and how horrible it was. You kind of nailed it on the head. We're not going to be able to trust our eyes and ears here pretty soon at all. With the level of technology that's coming out from these deepfake type systems.
I know. No, yeah. And like I said, the one that we would listen to, it was a little bit off. I could tell that, what you said when you listen to it, it was a little bit off, but it was nailing most of his tonality and stuff. Just the way his sentences came out were not what I'm used to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And there were certain things and I don't even know how you would put it. I don't know if it's expressions or just certain ways that he would say certain things, the nuances, right? That were almost there. You're like, oh yeah, that kind of sounds like him. But then, yeah.
No, it sounded just like him. The voice sounded, it was his voice, but it was just, just got to break even. Just got to break even.
Just break even. One more cycle and I'm done getting out of this.
Getting rid of this boomer coin.
I like that Bitcoin's a boomer coin. It's an old person coin, really? That's what that means? Is that what that term means?
Yeah, basically. The baby boomers are all the youngest baby boomers are in their mid 60s now, right?
Is that accurate?
Something like that. I think the baby boomers is basically post-war until 1960.
And then you got Gen X, which would have gone from 60 to almost 80, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And now the millennials went from 80 to 2000, right?
Right.
And then I don't know what the new generation is called.
Actually, I don't even think the generations are getting shorter.
Are they?
Yeah, because if you think about it, just the pace of technology and whatnot, how certain kids experience childhood is totally different. Just, and it's not even a few years that it changes drastically.
Yeah. No, and that's, I'd say that's especially true today. I was saying something, and we're getting, not that we want to get totally derailed, but I was saying something about how the new generation coming up now is probably the most activist-inspired generation there's ever been. Mainly because they would rather post and rant on social media than actually vote or anything like that, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, posting on social media is not activism.
No. Well, but it makes it easy, right? Like everybody can sit from their be an activist from their armchair
Exactly.
from their parents' basement. So we did get a jobs report yesterday. They're showing 517,000 jobs added in January, which was a huge increase. They were predicting 187,000 jobs, but they're saying the number was actually 517,000 jobs that came in.
And that's from January.
Yes.
Not talking about like the holiday, December jobs.
No, that's what they're saying is January jobs report showed non-farm payrolls increased by 517,000. So maybe the indicator is a little bit lagging. Maybe it was kind of from December. However, that's still a huge increase, especially when they're only predicting 187,000. However, most of the jobs were in leisure and hospitality.
Which were basically minimum wage jobs are pretty close.
I would assume so. Those were the lion's share. That was 128,000 of the jobs. Significant gainers were also from professional and business services, which were 82,000, government, which was 74,000, and healthcare, which was 58,000. Which the healthcare one makes sense. There was a lot of reductions in staff and everything prior to the pandemic that a lot of the hospitals and medical services were doing. So there was actually quite a large number of like what they would call like traveling nurses, right? That were actually making they were making a killing because they were traveling to these hospitals just like headhunting price wise, or what they were going to get paid for wages wise. So I think that was kind of interesting, especially, they're saying that unemployment fell to a rate of 3.4% versus the estimate of 3.6%. And it's the lowest job level since May 1969.
Nice.
The weird thing was after the COVID outbreak and we had that deep cut that took place where everything was dropping, people were getting laid off like crazy. And then, even prior to that, I still go back to probably 2008. There were so many unemployed that happened. It seems like if you're on the unemployment list for longer than a year, they don't count you any longer.
Well, yeah. Well, I think if you've been looking for a job for a year or longer, you've pretty much given up.
Yeah.
And people who don't have employment but have stopped looking for a job, they stop counting them.
Yeah.
Like if you're not looking for a job, then you're no longer on the unemployed list.
Yeah.
So,
which, I think there's got to be a lot more unemployment out there than what.
Yeah. Well, I think we got to call out the elephant in the room. I don't believe this jobs report at all. I didn't believe the inflation from before. I also didn't really believe the economic growth, the GDP.
Yeah.
I think everything that's coming from, official sources is, I smell a rat. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, and what they said that GDP was 2.9% in the fourth quarter of 2022. And right now they're tracking it as being a 0.7 increase for the first quarter of 2023. So right now they're still showing positive GDP, not much, 0.7. We'll have to see where it really lands. We're almost halfway through this first quarter now, which is crazy to think, but we'll have to see how that all kind of plays out. And then on top of that, we had Google announce 12,000 jobs that they were cutting on Friday. So
yep.
It's big tech is laying off people, and we know that big tech pays well, right?
Oh, no, yeah, I have a friend who works for Facebook. It's ridiculous. They pay really good, and then they provide you food, exercise rooms, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, whenever you look at their lunch menus for the day, depending on what kitchen you go into, at the Facebook data center, it's just a data center, right? It's not anything crazy there, but when you look at the data center, they'll have Chilean sea bass in one room, and then they'll have some sort of crazy other artisan burger stuff that's in another cafeteria within that data center.
Yeah. No, they hire high-end chefs and then bakers, and you get creme de la creme there.
Yeah, and then you've got like coolers just lined that looks like a convenience store with drinks and whatever you want while you're working. So you can just go grab something. Which, yep. I mean, hey, it's cool. It's awesome to see. But yeah, I mean, those are pretty plush type gigs in my opinion.
Those are great gigs. And same with Google. Like, I don't know if you've seen those people who did TikToks on what they did on their day at work. Like, they were doing workouts, they're getting a massage, they're doing all this crap except working. But, and it's funny that they're like the first to go when the job cuts happen.
Yeah.
But that aside, I mean, they pay well. They're really, taking care of employees, but those type of jobs are the ones that are getting cut.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook laid off, or Meta laid off what, like 11% of their staff here recently. Google did their big cuts last week. Yeah, I mean, sure, we may have added 500,000 new jobs, but those jobs that went away at those places are not coming back anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, well, and I mean, we had a report that came out too from Meta. This was just 9 hours ago. So Meta/Facebook, right? Meta calls 2023 a year of efficiency, anticipates more losses in its metaverse division, which if you've been paying attention to ever since they became Meta, like their results haven't been great. They're showing that Q4 2022, they did have a mildly positive report for Q4 2022. They beat revenue expectations. The company received revenues of $32.17 billion, higher than the $31.53 billion estimated. So that's a little bit mixed, but they're trying to tamper. If they're already trying to temper the expectations for what's going to happen in 2023, that doesn't bode well, right? And it's so hard when you look at everything costing more and they're like, well, our revenue was better. I mean, I saw it in my business where I worked as well, right? Like we had this huge increase in the amount of sales. Like if we looked at straight dollars, right?
Yeah.
It was almost double what we had done in previous years. However, when I looked at the number of actual transactions, like actually kind of like got down to the nuts and bolts of things, they were either on par with what we had done previously or actually slightly below. But it was just the cost of everything had gone up so much. So it inflates those revenue numbers, right?
Yeah, revenue was great, but what were your costs?
Yeah.
On that side, and what was the profits, right?
The margins were still good. Margins were still solid. However, but I mean that's because we raised prices to keep margins in line. Yeah. So it makes everything look great on paper when you compare it historically, but you're not really growing anything. Right? I mean, if your margins are the same, that means your actual profitability is the same, but the numbers themselves on paper look amazing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense to me.
So, yeah, it's kind of weird. And then like the metaverse itself, like I know it's been such a big buzz term, and it's kind of birthed from the crypto markets, right? Like as everything wants to be decentralized and start to move within these areas of Web3, the metaverse, like this whole new thing that's coming. But it's still not quite there yet. Like there's no killer app for it other than, and I think maybe crypto is the killer app for Web3, but I think that really, and there's a lot of stuff that can happen with that. We've talked about that before where it's, blockchain can be used for a lot of different things, but there was a kind of a trend there, especially going into the end of, 2020, there's the buzz term of blockchain that was getting attached to everything. And just because you add blockchain to something doesn't make you more profitable, and it doesn't always make sense for something.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's just something to watch out for. And then we did have the Fed rate hike was announced on Wednesday, February 1st, and they're only doing that 0.25%. Now the question is based off this job report, right? 517,000 jobs added. That's not what the Fed wants to see. we've talked about this before too. They want maximum pain.
Well, they don't want maximum pain, but they're looking for pain.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess they don't want maximum pain. They don't want us. They want pain. They want us to feel it in our pocketbooks. They want us to feel it in our homes, right?
And they want us to stop spending so much money.
Yeah. Which, I mean, when you look at that jobs report and the biggest job gainers were in leisure and hospitality, that tells you people are looking to travel and spend money that way, right?
I guess.
Or that's what, I mean, they're seeing on that level. I don't know. I'm curious, like, what the Fed's take is going to be, because the jobs report is going to be the exact opposite of what they're wanting for the inflation rate to start doing, which now it makes me curious, going into February, what is the CPI numbers going to be for January?
Yeah.
Are we going to see a reduction? Because we've talked about this too. Like, I haven't seen a reduction at the grocery store per se. Like, I mean, maybe some things are kind of tampered, but it doesn't feel like it.
Well, I have 4 kids, so my grocery bills are still pretty big every week.
We're like, look, you're going to get a grain of rice, and that's all. You need to quit. And you're going to end up putting, like, Zach to slave labor. Be like, you're able-bodied boy.
That's right.
And take the little ones, and you can be like, hey, you can go clean out some pipes.
Yeah.
You'll fit.
Fit in the coal mine. Come on, buddy.
And now it can't be coal, because that's a bad thing now, right?
Well, I don't know. We'll just get him in shop and we'll figure it out afterwards.
Get that certification. Let's go. Get you some high vis vest and some FRs, and you'll be set. I don't know. It's a weird time. Like, it's like mixed signals with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or a woman you're interested in.
No, this is your wife. She's hot and cold.
You're married to it at this point.
You're married to it, and you just know that you're gonna get the legal bills are gonna be piling up shortly.
Yeah.
And your house is gonna be split from you. That's basically what it feels like.
Yeah, and when you look at too, like, if you look at Bitcoin, like, off the jobs report number, or off the Fed announcement, it did go up to almost 24,000. We did break into that $24,000 range, which was actually the highest we've seen in quite a while. We got up to 24,253, and then it kind of slammed back down. Not slammed, I can't say that, but I mean, we've gone back down quite a bit from there. Let's see how the rest of the markets are doing real quick. Just want to look at this data. Dow Jones is down, looks like 0.38%. Gold is down 2.48%. Let's see what's oil doing. It's down 3.6%, which is crazy. But the dollar's showing strength again. It's the only one that's up. Dollar's up 1.23%. Aside from Apple. Apple's up 2.44%. And Tesla's almost up 1%. It's at 0.91.
Well, I know Tesla, year over end, it's lost a chunk of its value, so that point whatever percent, it's not really helping out at least long term, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, and if you listen to Jim Cramer, he would have told you to buy it, and when you were lost.
That's right.
That guy. Yeah.
I think that's how he unloads.
It's funny. Like, I mean, if you look at that dude's calls, like, he's like such a celebrity within the business and economic state, but it's almost like you want to use the exact opposite of whatever he's saying most of the time.
Or his guest, because it's kind of known that, when a guest says, oh, yeah, we're looking to buy this or whatever, they're like actually trying to unload it and then kind of give it a price bump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a market manipulation, but it works.
It's
Those damn boomers keep buying.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll have to reconvene again, see what this next week brings. But it's scary times for sure. Continuing scary times. Like, it just hasn't stopped. It's just been scary.
It's basically been, its spectrum is weird to scary. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you get moments of like a ray of light, possible hope, and then nothing. I mean, and everybody's still calling for a recession. And I don't think we talked about it on the podcast. I think we talked about it beforehand, but Michael Berry, whatever his name is, we talked about his final tweet. Because we had talked about him previously, right? Because you were talking about people that were calling for a recession for this year.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know why we didn't have one last year, but he put out a tweet that said "sell" and then just deleted his Twitter account. So we'll see if he comes back and says "buy." I don't know. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. None of it makes sense. Something's going to shake out sooner or later.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so weird. We've talked about real estate prices, right? So I paid my mortgage beginning of the month, did my due diligence, right? Did my good little boy thing. My property value went up again.
Really?
Yeah. Over a month's
Wow.
time, it went up like another like 20,000. I was like, what? I thought everything was starting to go backwards. Mixed
Not yet.
signals. Yeah, like, it's totally weird. Anyways, but it had gone, well, anyways, but it's weird times. So it's odd. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up today?
Nope. Nothing here.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys informed as we see stuff coming across, and hopefully, like, the Chinese spy satellite isn't just like a dirty bomb waiting for us to shoot it down. They're like, oh, go shoot it, see what happens.
I dare you.
I dare you. So, thank you guys for listening.
Bye.